Hello and welcome to episode 117 of Daryl Show Your Work. All right, so in this episode, we're still on the subject matter of post exploitation techniques against a Linux target host. In this episode, though, I'm gonna be focusing on how we can dump hashes when we don't necessarily have access to the hash dump application. All right, so I've shown in the previous video how we can dump hashes once we've gained entry to the machine, simply using hash dump and having those elevated privileges to be able to run that application on a Linux machine. But I want to show an alternative way of how to do that when we don't have access to hash dump. All right, so before I go any further, I'm going to preface this video with my usual disclaimer. Um, that this is for research and ethical educational purposes only. Any sort of malicious activity that may directly or indirectly come from someone watching my video, I do not take responsibility for, nor do I condone. All right, so some things you can see that I've done here preliminarily is I've done some discovery. I have our target host here in the center of the screen, which they are at on 192, 221, 230 dot three. And I've also managed to get us a shell session here. So I've already gone through an exploit, gain entry to the target host. This time I did use an exploit, unlike my previous video. Here, I exploited the Samba cry vulnerability, and which got me entry into the Linux target host via a shell. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to want to do, though, I'm going to want to upgrade this shell to a interpreter session. All right, so let's just do some minor enumeration here, not a whole lot. Um, I'm gonna start off just saying, just if I wanted to see, what my current working directory is. Hold on, give me a minute. Okay, there we go. I can say pwd. All right, you can see that that I'm in the temp folder. All right, so I'm a background this process or this shell session, so then I can upgrade it to a interpreter. So I'm gonna say background. Yes, I want to. All right. So in order to do that, I'm gonna just say sessions, and we know I'm only running one session. I could just show that. So I'm only running this one session here, which is the session. So to get my interpreter session here, I'm gonna just say sessions. I don't know why you're doing that. Okay. Dash lowercase u, and then one for session ones, and this is going to give me upgrade this shell session and give me a second session with interpreter. All right. So one thing to keep in mind that it looks like that interpreter is using port 4433. So when I have to make some if I have to use another module here within the Metasploit framework, I know that usually port 4444 is set by default. So now now we know that that port should be free to use if I have to use any other modules. All right, so we could just see now what sessions I have going now that I've done that. So we can see those two sessions going, my original shell session and now my 32-bit interpreter session. All right, so I'm going to jump into that one by saying sessions 2. All right, now I'm into my interpreter session. So I want to show exactly what I mean. So usually, I would be able to jump into to this and just do hash dump and just dump the hashes. So I want to show what happens when I do that. If I just say hash dump and I try to dump those user hashes, those whether we're talking about usernames or username and passwords, uses password hashes. Let's see what happens. No mas. All right. So um, basically, I don't have the right the privileges, or I basically I can't run Hashdump as an option as far as gaining those password hashes. All right, so an alternative that we can use, well, first let's see if I'm even able to exploit an alternative. Let's do some more enumeration here. I'm gonna say sysinfo. All right, so we can see that that our machine here, our target host, is running Debian version 8.11, and then also here is the kernel information for the operating system, and it's running a 64-bit session while I'm excuse me, not session, a 64-bit version of this operating system while I'm running a 32-bit session of interpreter, which shouldn't be a huge problem here. Um, but let's see. I'm gonna say get UID, and let's see who I'm logged in as, and see that can give me a better idea of my level of privileges. Well, I am logged in as root, so that's not privileges isn't the problem here, because I am the root account here, so I should have full system authority. So it just seems like again, hash dump is just not an option here. So I'm gonna show what happens, what can be done when hash dump isn't an option. So I'm gonna background my interpreter session here. All right, so I'm going to try to search to see if Metasploit maybe has a hash dumping a module that I could use instead of just using um, the hash dump um, interpreter command. All right, so say search. Let's search hash dump. All right, so it looks like it actually has quite a few options here. I want to find the one that says gather. So we see a gather here. Okay, so here we go, post gather, because I want something that focuses on post enumeration. All right, so if we look here, it says Linux gather dump password hashes for Linux systems. All right. So this is a post exploitation module that targets specifically targets Linux systems, and does that password hashing dump that I want done here. All right, so it looks like the number there is module 5. So I'm gonna just say use 5. All right, and see, let's see if there's anything that I need to configure here. Of course, I'm going to have to set my session. So it looks like that should be the only thing I have to set. So I'm going to say set session to 2, since that's my interpreter session. All right, and that looks like the only thing. So let's run that. All right, looks like that was successful. So it didn't return back anything, but I'm gonna see. Let me do loot and see if anything was saved in any sort of a database or any files in the database. And bam, here we go. All right. So we have the Linux password file. We have Linux passwd file, which is should list out to me all the user and service accounts on the machine. We have the shadow password shadow file. Now this is what's going to tell me the actual give me those actual password hashes. All right. So let's say that I wanted to see those password hashes. So all I would do is first I would copy. Well, I don't want to copy all that. Here we go. Copy up to here. And I would just cat that out. I'm going to say cat. All right. So we can see. So what it's actually um, what it's actually giving me is it looks like none of the accounts actually have passwords. So that's enlightening, because usually we would see the hashes here. Let me see. Let me go up to root. No, that's not just a service account issue. No, yeah. So it looks like none of them actually have passwords here, which is very interesting. All right, but this is usually where you would go to see that. And let me see if we wanted to. I could run another one here. Um, let's see. If I wanted to copy that and cat that out, we wanted to see what server. And this is showing us the service accounts too. But if we want to just say that, it should give us the same information. Yeah, it gives us similar information, except it doesn't have the area where we usually show us those password hashes as being empty. All right, and it's just really just showing us where each account is executing binaries from. So we see root. The root is the only user account here, and all the rest of these are service accounts. All right. And let's see. Let's say let's say I did want to set, now that we know that at least the root account doesn't have a password. Let's say that I did want to set a password for that. All right, and I wanted just exclusive access to that root account as an attacker, or even as a blue team person. Let's say as a sysadmin, I wanted to add an account for that, and for some odd reason as a sysadmin, I wanted to use the exploit framework to do that. All right, so what I would do, I'm gonna jump back into my interpreter session here. Let me see sessions too. Add an S there. All right. So then I'm gonna do a shell. All right. All right. Now that I'm into the system, I'm gonna do a bin bash session here. So I'm gonna say bin bash -I. All right, I have my bash session going. All right, and it lets me know I'm in the temp directory. All right, so in order to set a password for root or any other account, but since root appears to be the only user account on this system, I'm gonna just say passwd root, specify the root account, and then it says enter new password. I'm gonna just say password. Of course, you will use something a bit more, definitely a bit more robust, a bit more secure. Um, all right, then we're going to say we got to enter that in again. But just for the sake of the video here, I'm just going to keep it real simple. All right, so look like that's been set. So let's just background that. I didn't like, oh yeah, okay, probably have to terminate this. All right, now this background interpreter. All right, let's try running that again and let's see what happens. There we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so it looks like, matter of fact, hold on, there's something else I wanted to do as well. Hold on. All right, I'm gonna jump back in here. I wanted to kind of show some other things we can do. Now I just thought of some other things that I wanted to show. So let's say that, and I'm gonna do a shell. I'm gonna shell back in. Let's say we wanted to add, since there's only one user account on here. Let's say I wanted to add another user account here. All right, and set a password for that. So I would say user add. All right, then I'm gonna say M, all right, to then give it the new account a home directory, and then I'm gonna name this account Daryl, all right, and then um I'm gonna specify what shell that I can use. So I'm gonna say bin bash. So I'm giving this new account the ability to use the bash shell. All right. All right, look like that went good. So let's say I wanted to then set a password for this new account. So then again, from my attacker's mindset, I'm creating a new account on here. I'm setting, number one, I'm setting a password for root. So if none was already set here, the system administrator or the users of this machine, they're going to be in for a rude awakening when they come in here and a password is being requested, and they never had a password for this. And then then I have then I'm creating multiple accounts for myself to log into the system as. So I'm not just limited to the root account here. I'm also creating another account um, that I can access the system to again, which they're not going to the legit user's not going to immediately even know about the second account until they they actually pick up on the indicator of compromise and start investigating things. All right, so I'm setting the password for my new account here, and I'm going to say password. Let's say I don't know, let's keep it simple. 3321 with that, and then just give it the same password again. All right, and now let's terminate this channel. All right, then we're going to background interpreter again. All right, now let's run that again. Let's dump those hashes again. All right, so we can see that we have two password hashes now. All right, then we actually have a password hash for root since I set that password up for root, and then we have one for the new account that I made for myself and set a password for. So we have those password hashes now, and I've dumped those. So I mean, there's no real reason why I would need to crack these since I know what the password is, but just showing how those passwords can be set and what it actually looks like when you do use this hash dumping post exploitation module within a Metasploit versus the usual hash dumping interpreter command. When that's not necessarily available. So one thing too that I wanted to touch on. I believe I may have mentioned this in a previous video, but I'm not sure. So if it sounds redundant, sorry. Just wanted to bring this up again. So one thing that we can notice that anytime when you look at the hashing output of something, if you see a dollar sign number, all right, that's going to usually tell you what the strength of that hash function is. All right, so usually the higher the number, the stronger that algorithm is that's used to encrypt the password. So a dollar sign one would indicate the weakest, which would be an MD5 algorithm, which a dollar sign two would then be a blowfish hashing algorithm. A dollar sign three or a dollar sign five would indicate SHA-256 hashing algorithm being used. And then, but when you see the six here, all right, that's um, that's usually the strongest, or at least the strongest up to this point, which is SHA-512. All right. So that's something to keep in mind. So the higher this number is, probably the more difficult it's going to be to crack, even with a simple password, just like I gave it. But it's probably going to be a lot more difficult to crack given the strength of the algorithm. But that's not to say to give to give your accounts a weak password, because it can still be cracked. It just may take a little longer for it to be cracked. But you want to have that defense in depth, and have a strong password on top of using a strong hashing algorithm. So it makes it even more difficult for for an attacker to break the password, or to increase the likelihood that they would not be able to, just be given the complexity of the password itself. So again, that's hash dumping post exploitation of a Linux a host. Again, not necessarily a new subject matter that I'm covering, but just an alternative to some things that I went over before, as far as dumping hashes and cracking them. You just sometimes you just may not always have access to the Hashdump command within Meterpreter. But there's just wanted to show that there is that post exploitation module within the Metasploit framework that can be used as an alternative and give us the same results. So please like, share, and subscribe. Most importantly,